Sophie Miller lived a life that most people admired from afar. At 39, she had been married to James for nearly 15 years. Together, they had 2 children, Michael, 13, already showing glimpses of teenage independence, and Emily, their curious and kind-hearted 9-year-old. Their home sat in a peaceful suburb just outside Denver, Colorado, the kind of neighborhood where kids rode bicycles on summer evenings, neighbors waved while mowing their lawns, and families gathered for weekend barbecues. From the outside, everything in Sophie's world appeared calm and content, yet beneath that calm surface lay a quiet ache that only she could feel. James was a good man, responsible, hardworking, and faithful. But over time, the warmth between them had faded. Their conversations had grown short and practical, revolving around bills, groceries, and the children's schoolwork. The tenderness that once defined their relationship had been replaced by routine. Sophie often found herself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was all that marriage had to offer, an endless loop of duties with no real connection. One Friday evening, Sophie attended a charity gala downtown. James was supposed to go with her, but a last-minute issue at work forced him to stay behind. "I'll make it up to you, Soph," he promised over the phone, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Sophie smiled politely, though a dull sting of disappointment lingered in her chest. She slipped on her navy blue dress, the one she hadn't worn since their 10th anniversary, and drove into the city alone. The hotel ballroom shimmered under golden lights, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Guests exchanged compliments about outfits and work, their smiles bright but practiced. Sophie, however, felt like a puzzle piece forced into the wrong place. She stood near the refreshment table, pretending to sip her sparkling water while her eyes wandered aimlessly across the room. That's when she noticed him, a tall man in his early 40s, salt and pepper hair, and an easy, confident smile. "I'm Daniel," he said warmly, extending his hand. "And if I had to guess, I'd say you don't really want to be here either." Sophie laughed softly, caught off guard by his honesty. "You guessed right. My husband was supposed to come, but work won again." Daniel nodded knowingly. "Work wins too often these days. My ex-wife used to say that about me." Their conversation flowed effortlessly, from work and children to hobbies and the small frustrations of daily life. Sophie was amazed at how easy it was to talk to him. With James, conversations often felt mechanical, but with Daniel, words came naturally, light and unforced. He listened with genuine interest, laughed at her stories, and shared thoughtful moments from his own life. Hours passed before Sophie even realized it. For the first time in years, she felt seen, heard, and alive. When the gala ended, Daniel walked her to her car. The night air was cool, the city lights glowing softly in the distance. Sophie hesitated, her heart racing with emotions she hadn't felt in a long time. "I'm glad I met you tonight, Sophie," Daniel said, smiling gently. "You reminded me that good conversations still exist." She returned his smile, torn between gratitude and guilt. "Me too." That night she drove home in silence, her heart heavy with confusion. She hadn't done anything wrong, yet the happiness she felt in Daniel's company made her question everything. Crawling into bed beside James, who had fallen asleep with his phone still buzzing with work emails, Sophie lay awake, wondering why one evening with a stranger had felt more fulfilling than the last several years of her marriage. In the days that followed, Sophie couldn't shake Daniel from her thoughts. She replayed their conversation, the warmth in his eyes, the ease of his laughter, the way he made her feel noticed. It was intoxicating yet terrifying. She loved James, at least she thought she did, but the emotional distance between them had become so vast that she no longer felt certain. A week later, she ran into Daniel again at a coffee shop downtown. The moment their eyes met, she knew fate was testing her resolve. They sat together, sipping coffee, sharing more fragments of their lives. Daniel spoke openly about the loneliness that had followed his divorce. Sophie admitted how invisible she often felt in her own home. "Do you still love him?" Daniel asked quietly. The question pierced her heart. I don't know anymore," she whispered. Daniel reached for her hand, but Sophie pulled it back, her chest tightening. "I can't do this," she said, her voice trembling. I have a family. I can't betray them. Daniel nodded, compassion softening his expression. I understand. But don't mistake loyalty for silence, Sophie. You deserve to be happy too. That night, Sophie sat at the kitchen table long after the kids had gone to bed. When James walked in, loosening his tie and grabbing a slice of leftover pizza, he didn't notice the tears in her eyes until she spoke. James, can we talk? He looked surprised but sat down beside her. Of course. What's wrong?